It's time to move the baby chickens outside, and I am loving this long format. It gives you a better idea of what actually goes into everything that you can't really tell in the videos that are a minute and 30 seconds or less. The first part of this project was getting the extension cord stretched all the way over to the other end of the coop. I had it stretched right there. You can see where the wire comes out for the water that keeps the water from freezing in the winter. That's where I'm attaching it, right below that. So I stretched it over to the other end of the coop so I can plug in the heating plate, and I attached it to the rafters like so. On this one is a little bigger, so I used 2 cable ties attached to each other, and then on the other one I was able to suffice with a single cable tie. By the way, you can see the reason why I love wearing aprons. One of the many reasons is because then I have pockets to keep things in when I'm busy doing things. Years ago I bought myself like a tool belt type thing to use in the garden, but I rarely use it because just aprons make so much more sense, and they also protect my clothing. Now it's time to go and get the ladder. The chickens love digging holes back here in the rock, so it was a little hard finding a stable place to prop it. But this worked because it's also leaning against the coop. Just wanted to take a look up there and see what was happening, where I'm going to be having the wire come through so I can plug it in. It's dry. It stays dry because it's under the roof up there, which is great, so I don't need to start taping it up. And now it's time to fill some water bottles. I'm going to be filling a bucket that has 2 chicken nipples on it that's going to be hanging in the top part of the coop. And yes, I reuse these bottles from juice. When my kids were younger, we went through a lot more juice, so we had a lot more bottles, but really the only juice we drink these days is grape juice, so most of the bottles that you'll be seeing are grape juice. It's an apple juice bottle. It is vintage, as they say. I did run the water through the hose first, so it isn't warm, the water that I'm filling up, but I cut that part out because it's nice that we have long format videos, but you really don't need a video that's like 45 minutes long and shows everything. Once I got these filled up, I did turn off the hose. You also don't see that part. And then I went into the house to bring the food. I had this bucket of food underneath the table that had the brooder on it in our den, but now it's time for it to come outside. And then Mindy, thank you Mindy, helped me carry out the chick brooder. Mindy is my second daughter. She is over 18. That's why you can see her face on here. You don't see my minor children's faces on here, and I really appreciate her help. She is off from college for the summer, so her schedule has more time in it to do things like help me carry this. I'm taking a look inside and checking the height of the water to make sure it's just right for the chicks, and Mindy brought the water bottles over for me, and then it was time to fill them up. Space is a little tight with everything hanging in the top part of the coop here, so it's a little hard to fill the water, and you'll watch me in a minute filling the food. The water and the food are only going to be up here for a few weeks. Once the chicks are old enough, I'm going to have them be able to go up and down the ramp. I'm going to close off a part of the run that's right underneath this coop here, and then the food and the water will be downstairs, and the upstairs part will just be for sleeping, more or less. This way they can get used to the older chickens and see them until it's time for them to be introduced to each other, which is not until they're close to full grown. For now, they're just going to stay up here. It's a little tight, or a lot tight, the top of the feeder, so I use this red cup and I've got to sort of squeeze it in there to fill it up. I also have, I don't know if you can tell from the video, the bottom part of the feeder with the holes in it is on an angle, so the food goes down. It isn't perfect, especially when it's up here, because I can't really get it high enough, because then I won't be able to fill it, but it works. Once I move it down, I have more play. Now I took this part, luckily it separates, this is the adapter for the heating plate, and I plugged it in and stuffed it under the roof so it won't get rained on. And now this is one of the parts that make this long form video so nicely. So you'll see me in the short form video, if you watch it on another platform, that I pull the heat plate out of the brooder and then I stick it right in there. But what you didn't see was me using a stick to clean off the poop. I plugged it in and then I stuck the training roost in there, and now it's time to get the chickies out. I put 2 in to start with instead of just 1 at a time, because one alone they're just freaked out. They are flock animals. They need each other. So we started with 2. I calmed them down first, put them inside, and then I moved on to getting the rest of them. Now I did close the door in between moving in each chick or 2 chicks because I didn't want them to fly out or fall out. Here's Harriet. She is a character. I do need to name the rest of them. We've got Harriet and Matilda for now. Matilda's the last one going in. And we have a whole list of names to draw from. We are going to be naming the rest of them. And now they're getting used to their new living abode, and I have to show them the water. Some of them are figuring it out, but not all of them figured it out right away. So I did do the same thing I do when I train them. This was much easier though, and put their beaks right up next to the little nipple that the water comes out of, and this teaches them what to do. Again, I use this type of water, the chicken nipple water, because it keeps the water clean and fresh. If you have ever seen what chickens will do to an open water, it's disgusting. This is nicer. And I'm also showing them where the food is, and they catch on quickly. Once I show 3 of them, you'll see I'm going to show Harriet in a minute. Once I show Harriet, the rest of them come running over. There she is. She is the biggest. She's going to be the biggest also as an adult. She's just a larger breed, and she looks very different in color than the rest of them. She'll be dark brown with white speckled Sussex. That's what she is. And they are happily using the food. Harriet is the bravest. I have to make sure she didn't fall out. And they start to dig in the shavings and run around, having a lot of fun. The noise you are hearing in the background is one of our larger hens announcing that she has laid an egg. That's the egg song. It's not really that loud, only because I'm right next to them. The chicks at first were unsure of what that was and getting a little nervous, but they got used to it. And they need to get used to those sounds because they're going to be out here for now, and eventually they're going to be introduced to the rest of the flock. But for now, this is quite a bit larger than the space they had before. They are living their best life out there, and I'm going to be out there checking on them a few times a day, at least, maybe more, until they're completely settled in.